Hey, Mama.
Hey, Heather.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. People probably wonder why I got this big coat on.
It's 69 degrees
cold
in
in
here. I'm
here.
sweating. It's hot.
Hey y'all, from Spindle Mountain Mercantile. I am Heather. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I guess Mama and I are no longer in menopause at the same time. Today we're only bringing you 2 projects plus a little video of what we found in our stash, so let's get started right away with project number 1.
What you making today?
Well, first of all, I have this pretty wooden bunny and a gorgeous antique quilt that is no longer usable as cover. I'm going to cover this rabbit with this quilt. I got the bunny at Hobby Lobby. So I'm going to draw around this bunny so that I can cut it out and the ink won't show. We've had some discussion about laying out the pattern, trying to put it in the prettiest place. And this is what I decided was the prettiest way to do it.
Oh, I have my good scissors you bought me.
Let's see if she's been taking care of those scissors.
You say what?
I was talking to my audience.
What'd you tell?
I said she's taking good care of these scissors I gave her for Christmas.
Actually, I lost the ones you gave me for Christmas. Those are the ones you gave me for after Christmas.
Whenever I come here, the sweet husband makes me the best coconut breve, and he always has a cup waiting for me when I approach the mansion.
They believed you till you said that part.
Thank you, Heather.
Oh, that's so cute. And you're also welcome. Oh, he's so cute.
You did a good job.
I was going to say, be careful of your old lady hands talking to them. And I thought, no, they'll think I'm being mean to you. And I'm like, no, I'm talking about my old lady hands.
Hey, you live to tell the tale.
Yes, ma'am. Boy. They said, you're not going to take off our bunny tail.
How about if you use heat cutter?
No. How about if you tell me those things before I do everything else?
And of course, that was a great idea. It worked instantly. Mama decided the best way to attach the quilt to the wood was to use glue, so I got out my Titebond Quick and Thick, and we painted it all over the entire piece of wood, making sure to get on the edges. And then when Mama put the quilt down over it, she used a rolling pin to make sure that every part of that quilt was adhered to the entire wood surface. And we did such a good job making sure that we filmed everything so you could see exactly how we did it. Guess what? I went to turn the film off when we were done. It was already off and I was turning it on. Here's what happened. So you can't see how we attached the quilt, but you can see how we go from clean to messy in 0.3 seconds. My sweet husband cut off the excess quilt so that the edge of the quilt would be butted up right to the edge of the wood. First, he thought using a razor knife would work, so he put another board underneath the quilt between it and the table so we wouldn't mark up our table more. And it just didn't cut it. So he got out my good fabric scissors and he used that. There were a couple places where he used the razor knife, but he just wanted y'all to know that using both of those in different areas is what worked best for him.
This is part of the lace that Heather found on the side of the road.
I found a huge tote full of lace, which is super expensive right now. I'm thinking about putting some on our website.
Oh, you sell it by a bag full and put 2 or 3 yards of each one.
Would y'all be interested in that?
We don't like to waste stuff, so usually we would start at the end of that lace, but it's not gathered there. There's a little string you pull through it that gathers it, and that string has been pulled all the way through, so Mama had to start a little bit in further, but we won't waste that lace. We will save it and use it for something else.
I bought a package of trim to make bows like my daughter does at Hobby Lobby. And this was part of it. We're going to pull it around to the back, trim it. Is that not perfect?
So cute. Okay,
Now, Heather has made the cutest little tail for this rabbit. Perfect with a rabbit made with the old quilt. Look at that.
that's the party good.
Look at that.
My AJ suggested we make a pom-pom for the bunny tail, so I did that, only instead of using yarn, I used frayed strips of drop cloth. Ideally, it's best to use one long strip of fabric or yarn or rope, but since I already had these strips cut down for a different project, I was using up my leftovers. To make the pom-pom, I wrapped the strips around 3 of my fingers, and where one strip stopped, I just started with the next strip. I kept wrapping them around my fingers until I used up all of the strips. Next, I used the very last strip and wrapped it around the center of where I gathered all of the other strips around my fingers, and I tied that as tight as I could get it in a square knot, which is left over right, right over left. Or right over left, left over right, if you prefer. As I'm editing this, I'm sitting here praying y'all aren't offended by naked feet. When I was sure it was super secure, I used my scissors to cut the ends where it's rounded over. Next, I fluffed it up and got all of the little pieces of thread off of it and just made it kind of poofy. Then I used my scissors to shape it and make sure all the extra long pieces that were sticking out were gone. Hamlet did not like that I was petting that. He came over and said, "Hey, quit petting that. You're supposed to be petting this." He's the sweetest boy. I found a good place to make it flat, and now it's like a half of a ball. So I took my scissors again and shaped it, and I also went through it and used my fingers to get off all the little pieces again. And I repeated that step a couple of times until it had just the right shape to be a cute little bunny tail.
I think you did a good job. It's perfect.
Thank you, Mama. We decided this bunny would look best if he was standing all by himself. So my sweet husband cut out a half triangle and made the bottom edge just ever so slightly angled. That way the bunny can lean back just a little bit and he won't fall over. On the straight edge, I spread out some Titebond Quick and Thick with a little paintbrush, and I did the same thing to 2 little Jenga blocks. That way I can make sure the entire surface is adhered. The Jenga blocks are just to give it a little bit more support. I left them overnight to dry thoroughly. This worked out perfectly. I started adding the floral because I was so excited to get this done, and I realized I wasn't filming it. So I called my sweet husband in, and I'm just showing you here what I did before he got there to film. I added some eucalyptus and glued it right to the side of the bunny. We want it to look like the flowers are coming out from the front of the bunny, as if the bunny is holding a bouquet of flowers. My friend Sherry has the best things, and a lot of times she gets rid of them, and I'm like, This is a beautiful paper rose. I think she got it at Michael's, and she got it on clearance for a great price. Thank you so much for sharing, Sherry. I'm adding a little bit of gold berries that I found in a discarded bouquet on the side of the road. In a different discarded flower arrangement, I found these other paper flowers, and they have little metal wires connected to them. I just used a couple that were a little bit deeper color to add some contrast, and I put glue on the bottom of the wire and just tucked them right in. Finally, I used one of my little flower heads I bought on Amazon, and I will leave a link for those in the description. When you go to buy them, make sure you get the right size, style, and color you want. One time I went to buy some little tiny ones. They ended up about as big as the palm of my hand, and I wanted them to be as big as the end of my thumb. So make sure you check that part out and don't do an oops like I did. Also, that flat eucalyptus will be available on our website, and we're adding some more florals as well. We finished the bunny on a Friday night, and I put $19 on him. I right away took him to the shop and displayed him in the front on top of a desk set my sweet husband just finished up. I bet you before the weekend is over, someone will take him home with them. Project number 2. I am super blessed to have an AJ, and she gave me all of these frames. I already have about 347 frames in my stash, so I couldn't just throw them out there. I had to do something with them right away. By the way, if you don't know, my AJ is my Aunt Janice. For this project, I'm using Apothecary, and if you want to buy some on my website, here's what it looks like when you get there. I got this idea from a reel I saw on Facebook, and I have no idea where to find that. So to whomever made these monochromatic frames, thank you so much for the inspiration. I kept the glass and frames intact and cleaned everything with a cotton pad soaked in 91% alcohol. Next, I painted the frame and the glass with Apothecary. I made sure to get it down deep into all the crevices where the glass is inside the frame because when the glass moves around, it might show a dark spot. I'm doing 2 groupings with these picture frames. One of them will have 3 frames, 1 large one and 2 medium size, and then I'm using another medium size that will stand all alone. When I was finished painting the first coat, I did spray this with my mister and water so that I could get rid of some of the brush strokes, but it's okay to have brush strokes because I used a crackle finish anyway, so it didn't have to be completely smooth. Originally, I was doing the one that stands alone just for me, not to show y'all because I needed to learn how to do this. I applied St. Owen to it, which I really think is pronounced something like Saint Owen, but I call it St. Owen because obviously. And after I finished the transfers and started applying the crackle medium, I realized I should have shown you the process because I'm going to like this one the best. So sorry about that. Okay, so here's my great idea. The woman I saw on Facebook who did this made each frame stand alone. I thought it would be cool to do something that was reminiscent of the 1980s home interiors, where they would have 3 frames where the pictures match. My thought was I could use some of these transfers from the book Madeline. Madeline is available on our website, and if you spend more than $70, I pay for the shipping. Madeline has many different designs with different colors and different florals that all have birds, butterflies, bees, and ribbons. Each of those designs has their own garland on a separate page, and a couple of them have more than one garland. I'm working with the bright kind of pinkish red color. My goal was for each frame to have their own design and they would be kind of connected with the garland. Didn't quite work out that way though. You'll see. Applying IOD transfers is super easy. Now, I'm not as quick as you might think though. I did speed this up to twice as fast as normal speed because I want to show you the whole process with at least one of the transfer applications. I used a little piece of plastic carrier sheet right there to lift up the carrier sheet the transfer is on. That's the plastic sheet with the little black grid lines. I didn't want to scratch the paint with my fingernail. Before that, I already went over the entire surface of the transfer with my transfer stick. That's that little plastic stick, and every transfer book comes with one of those. As I lift the carrier sheet back, I rub where it's pulling away from the glass with the transfer stick. And as I move along and pull it back, I just keep rubbing right along that area until I get it all the way off. If there's any place where some of the transfer picture doesn't stick, that's okay. Just lay it back down and rub again, and it should come off quite easily. If it doesn't, that probably means your surface is not all the way clean, or it might be a little wet. After everything is applied, make sure to burnish it. That means you rub it, and a lot of people use the carrier sheet or the wax paper that the transfer came on. I like to use my fingers. Now this is the tricky part, and it's one of the other reasons I wish I would have showed you the process I did with the first one when I was teaching myself how to do this. The frame on that one is curved all the way from the glass up to the front of the frame down to the side where it goes onto the wall. For that one, I put the transfer down on the glass and applied it there. Then when I got to where the frame starts, I just worked my way up the frame over the front and down the side to where it would hit the wall. This one has an abrupt edge, so I decided I needed to cut the transfer and not put it on the flat part of the frame where it meets the glass. When you're looking at it straight on, you will see the transfer on the frame, and it will immediately, your eye will go to the transfer on the glass. When the frame is curved, you can see that curved part, so you need to cover all the frame. Gosh, I hope that makes sense. I think y'all will get it. You're pretty smart people, aren't you? Yeah, you are. When I cut this, it was so much easier to cut it into 2 pieces rather than cut a piece out and leave the L shape. That gives you a little bit more room for mistakes as well. I really wanted to use this razor knife, but I was afraid I'd scratch the paint. I even broke it off so that it was the extra new sharp part. Know what I'm saying? I cut the bottom part with scissors and that worked really good. But once I figured out what I was doing with this one, it worked. And I do recommend using a razor knife. You just have to make sure you don't rub it against your paint and scratch your paint off. I mean, unless you want a distressed look. If you want a distressed look, by all means, scratch away. I got these 2 side pieces matched back up, and then I gave them both a good rub with my finger before I start doing the actual transferring. When it came time to do the actual transferring, I started with that abrupt edge that goes down to the glass and did the flat part, and then I worked my way over the edges. Each of these 3 frames has different trim. So there's like a place where the frame rises and then it has a groove, and then it rises again and has a groove. On a couple places, it's curved. Other places, it's more of like a V shape upside down. And then there's other places where it's very abrupt. For each of those, I just transfer by rubbing with my fingernail, usually, up to that next groove or ridge. And then I work my way up it and over it and down to the next groove. And then I continue the same way, just working up the ridge and down the ridge, into the groove, up the ridge, down the ridge, and so on, until I get to the back. When I was done with the sides, I just took that little piece that I cut out initially and stuck it right down into the corner on top of the glass. And let me tell you, this applied so easily to this painted glass. I did take it into the kitchen and use my heat gun on it to make sure it was absolutely dry, because I did do 2 coats of paint and it was pretty thick. But I didn't speed this up at all. What you're watching is in real time. And I know I'm a little bit off the camera screen there, but I left it in so you could see how fast this went. There's these 2 little whimsical hummingbirds in this book. They're on the page that has all the brambles, and I just love them so much. They're so cute. I can picture them flying around chasing each other, and I put those as the centerpiece of this particular frame. I'm trying to set these up how they would be about an inch apart from each other on the wall, and have the garland go across on the top from the left to the center, and on the bottom from the center frame to the right hand frame. But before I do that, I realize I need to fill in all the other pieces first. So I'm starting on the other frame that's going to go on the right hand side, and I applied all these transfers the same as I did in the first one. I'm just going to speed this up so you can watch the whole thing, but it won't take that long. And I'll see you back here at the end of doing this frame. Okay, I have put these pieces down and tried to figure out this look about 14 different times. I kid you not. And I have finally decided I'm just going to go for it. I trust myself enough that it's going to look good. So I'm going to speed this part up too, so you can see the whole entire process. You think I was done, right? Well, I did too. But I realized there were too many big open spaces on the smaller pictures, so I went ahead and cut out different pieces of floral and ribbon and just put them in here and there, made them look like they were coming out of the other ribbon or the other floral, and I just kind of filled in those spaces. Then I was done with that part. Because Debbie's DIY paints are clay-based, I have to seal the Apothecary, and for that, I'm using Pintart's Classic Crackle Varnish. It's super easy to apply. You just put down one good coat of step number 1, let it dry completely. I let mine dry overnight, and then you add another good coat of step number 2. The thicker you apply it, the bigger your crackle will be. To make that crackle finish pop, you have to add something over it. So if you're working with a dark frame, you want to put something light on it, like white wax. But Apothecary isn't very dark, so I'm going to put a darker color on the crackle finish. For that, I'm using Debbie's Dark Wax on the standalone frame. And I kind of started not doing very much because I was afraid of how dark it was. And as I kept going, it worked great. I just used a soft, dry towel, and as I put it on, I wiped it off at the same time. I did like how the dark wax turned out, but I wanted to give Debbie's Liquid Patina Dark and Decrepit a try, so that's what I used on the set of 3 pictures. This was super easy to apply. I just used a regular paintbrush and put that Dark and Decrepit all over the whole thing, the glass and the frame, the sides, the top, the bottom, everywhere. Then I got out another clean, soft cloth and I just wiped everything down, making sure to get into the crevices around where the glass meets the frame, and for that I used my fingernail. There were some places where the Dark and Decrepit didn't get down there enough, so I used a smaller paintbrush and kind of smooshed it in there really well. Then I went back with my cloth and wiped it down again. I continued on to the other 2 frames and did the same exact process. And y'all, oh my goodness, I love how these turned out. Now, I will say it did not carry over like I thought it would where I put the garland. So you could actually display these as 3 separate pictures, but if you know what's going on and what I did, then you can totally see it. It's just not something that's really pops. This is where I realized that that little hummingbird's tail came off. I think it happened when I was putting the crackle finish on, and I didn't realize it until just now. To cover up the part where the tail was supposed to be, I cut out some more of the ribbon that was in the garland and the flowers and just kind of put it over the edge like it was supposed to be there. And for the area where the tail landed, I cut out a little tiny carnation with some leaves and I think a little bud and put it over that, and it looked like a flower with a leaf. So unless you know what happened, You won't see it. If I do these again, I will use one big solid picture that I cut apart instead of using something like a garland. I think that'll look better, but these do look really, really good. In the comments, let me know if you think so too. This week, y'all don't have to pick a favorite. You don't want to be pitting Mama and me against each other. Am I right? We want to welcome everyone who is here for the first time and welcome back our regular viewers. If y'all like our content, we sure do hope you subscribe and like this video, if you did. We have more coming for spring and Easter. We couldn't add any more to this video because it was already so long, but we're really excited to bring you what we do have. Until then, we hope y'all have a wonderful week. And as always, we hope you are blessed. Bye.